Peru dawned this morning immersed in a serious political and institutional crisis. President Donald Trump's campaign has withdrawn a central part of its lawsuit seeking to stop the certification of the election results in Pennsylvania, where Democrat Joe Biden beat Trump to capture the state and help with the White House. Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Sayed warned Monday of unprecedented dangerous developments in the Israeli colonial project as Trump prepares to leave the White House. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Gladys Quesada from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Peru dawns this morning immersed in a serious political and institutional crisis. The plenary of the Congress extended the election of the board of directors for this Monday at 2 p.m. local time. A country without government, with dead, wounded, and disappeared after 7 continuous days of protests remains expectant. On Monday morning, the Purple Party presented a new list to the parliamentary senior officials, headed by Francisco Sagasti, who also includes Zenaida Solis, Angelica Palomino Saavedra, and José Antonio Núñez, all legislators from the same political grouping, since the party's leader, Julio Guzmán, assured that they could not negotiate with coup leaders. At the end of the day, the interim president of the Congress, Rocío Silva Santiesteban, informed that today at 10 a.m. the board of spokespersons will meet, and that the parliamentarians who want to present lists with their candidates must do so at 1 p.m. And Brazil's Sunday municipal elections show a clear setback for the current right-wing president Jair Bolsonaro. In the big cities of the country, the candidates supported by the current president were relegated to positions far from the winners in the elections. The race brought together nearly 150 million voters to elect local authorities in the more than 5,500 municipalities of Brazil. No major problems occurred during the day, except for the delays in the publication of the vote count due to technical problems. The elections were held under strong health measures and recorded an increase in abstentions compared to the 2016 elections. And we are staying in Brazil because in the regional elections held this Sunday, indigenous chief Marquinhos Sucuru was elected mayor in the municipality of Pesqueira in the state of Pernambuco. Sucuru is the first indigenous leader to assume that position. Marquinhos Sucuru, indigenous leader of the 24 villages in Pernambuco, will be the municipal representative of more than 65,000 inhabitants, of which over 10,000 are indigenous peoples. As a teenager, Sucuru was elected chief of his village after the murder of his father. Although Marquinhos Sucuru is affiliated with a right-wing party, he made a coalition with left-wing parties such as the Liberal Party, the Workers' Party, and the Brazilian Labour Party to carry out his fight for the territories and the dignity of the communities he represents. And we go now with our correspondent in Brazil, Brian Meyer, has the details.
Over 147 million Brazilians went out to vote for candidates for city council and mayor, and the government's electoral court tallied the entire count by midnight last night. All the results are out, and it looks like the big loser is the coalition around far-right President Jair Bolsonaro. The big winner of yesterday were the traditional center-right coalitions which have been dominating Brazilian politics for the last 500 years, tied to the rural lobby, the agribusiness lobby. But the left held strong and even made gains in some points. The Brazilian left has never controlled anywhere near a majority of local governments in Brazil. But in 2016, the PT party only made it to one final round election in any of Brazil's top 96 cities. Today, the PT is facing off in 15. So it's made gains in the largest and richest cities in Brazil. In all, leftist candidates won 898 mayor's offices yesterday, and 10 more of them will face off for control of the nation's 26 capital cities. The 2 largest left parties in Brazil in terms of local governments historically have been the center-left Democratic Workers' Party, PDT, and the Brazilian Socialist Party, PSB, which is a bit inaptly named because it's center-left, they continue controlling the highest number of mayor's offices. The Brazilian Workers' Party won 189 mayor's offices yesterday and is in the running for 15 more. The Communist Party of Brazil won 46 mayor's offices and is going to the final round in Porto Alegre in coalition with the PT. And the tiny Socialism and Liberty Party, PSOL, which has a long history of punching above its weight, doubled its number of mayor's offices from 2 to 5, but has made the final round in the São Paulo election. So in all, it was a big loss for Bolsonaro, big gains for the center-right, and moderate gains for the Brazilian left parties in this year's municipal elections.
Panama declares emergency before the inland of Hurricane Iota, already strengthened in Category 4. After an extraordinary meeting held this Sunday, the president of the country, Laurentino Cortizo, announced the decision to declare the state of environmental emergency. Given the evolution of the events in the following days, the authorities convened an extraordinary governing council to responsibly declare the state of environmental emergency in the affected provinces and counties by approving an initial fund of 100 million balboas for the mitigation of the disasters caused by the influence of Hurricane Ida, funds that must be used in an efficient and transparent way. Havana's José Martí International Airport reopens after almost 8 months of closure due to the pandemic and implements strict sanitary protocols, which include a mandatory COVID-19 test.
Safe. Here there has been a very good treatment, very affordable and very fast at the same time. It is not that the COVID-19 test is charged. The implementation of a health tax is allowed by the international health regulations, and it is for everyone who arrived from abroad.
Venezuela and Russia ratified agreements to guarantee more than 10 million doses of the Sputnik V vaccine for the South American nation. The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro Moros, announced the bilateral agreements that include the production of the Russian COVID-19 vaccine in Venezuelan laboratories. President Maduro highlighted the high scientific level of the product. The implementation and ratification of these agreements were part of the agenda of the Vice President of Venezuela's recent visit to Russia. President Maduro also stated that he follows the advances made by China and Cuba in their COVID-19 vaccines research. In Costa Rica, the National Meteorological Institute recommended taking urgent and needed precautions because of soil saturation due to the heavy rains resulting from Ida hurricane. Downpouring is expected in Central and South Pacific region, while in northern areas and the mountains close to the Caribbean Sea, as well as the Central Valley, forecasts preclude heavy isolated rains and frequent lightning. Authorities also foresee that Iota will continue to increase its intensity in the next few hours and will advance into the Caribbean Sea. It is expected that the storm will reach the coast of Nicaragua on Monday night. And Hurricane Iota has reached Category 4 in the Saffir-Simpson scale, according to the bulletin issued by the National Hurricane Center after an aerial exploration of the storm. With that force, the cyclone advances towards Central America. The sustained wind of the hurricane is 225 kilometers per hour, with even higher gusts as it remains located about 70 kilometers northeast of the Colombian island of Providencia, where it has caused havoc, and about 310 kilometers east of the Cape Gracias a Dios in Nicaragua, where it is expected to arrive this Monday with a dangerous forecast. The archipelago of San Andres and Providencia has been suffering since Sunday night from the Iota's tails, with torrential rains reported in the area. According to the National Hurricane Center, the heavy rains that the hurricane will cause could generate deadly floods and landslides in Honduras and Nicaragua starting this Monday. The Barbados Meteorological Services issued a flash flood watch for the Caribbean country. A flash flood watch is issued when heavy or excessive rainfall in a short period of time, generally less than 6 hours, could result in flash flooding within the watch area. A deep layered trough affecting the island is expected to cause moderate to heavy showers with maximum rainfall accumulations of 30 millimeters. And we'll go now to a short break. Follow us in Twitter and stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. President Donald Trump's campaign has withdrawn a central part of its lawsuit seeking to stop the certification of the election results in Pennsylvania, where Democrat Joe Biden beat Trump to capture the state and help win the White House. Ahead of a Tuesday hearing in the case, Trump's campaign on Sunday dropped the allegation that over 600,000 mail-in and absentee ballots were illegally processed without its representatives watching. The Associated Press on 7 November called the presidential contest for former Vice President Joe Biden, after determining that the remaining ballots left to be counted in Pennsylvania will not allow Trump to catch up. Trump has refused to concede. Governor Tom Wolf's administration has said that ballot watchers from all parties had observers throughout the process, and that any insinuation otherwise is a lie. The COVID-19 pandemic continues to run rampant in the United States as infections and death continue to rise. U.S. health authorities reported over 139,000 COVID-19 cases in the last 24 hours. The U.S. has registered more than 100,000 infections daily for over a week. To date, the U.S. is the hardest hit country worldwide, with more than 11.3 million COVID-19 cases and nearly 252,000 fatalities. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson confirmed Monday that he had been asked to self-isolate for 4 days by the UK test and trace system after coming into contact with someone who tested positive for COVID-19. The Prime Minister said to be in good health and currently had no symptoms. Johnson added that he will lead the country's virus response from his Downing Street home. The Prime Minister spent 3 days in intensive care units with coronavirus in April. Britain has been the worst hit country in Europe in terms of death, recording nearly 52,000 deaths and more than 1.3 million cases.
Hi folks, the good news is that NHS Test and Trace is working ever more efficiently. The bad news is that they pinged me and I've got to self-isolate because somebody I was in contact with a few days ago has developed COVID. And it doesn't matter that we were all doing social distancing. It doesn't matter that I'm fit as a butcher's dog, feel great. So many people do in my circumstances. And actually, it doesn't matter that I've had the disease and I'm bursting with antibodies. We've got to interrupt the spread of the disease. And one of the ways we can do that now is by self-isolating for 14 days when you get contacted by NHS Test and Trace.
Maia Sandu, the pro-European victor of Moldova's presidential election, vowed to maintain a true balance in foreign policy ties and keep up pragmatic dialogue with all countries.
Moldovans want a country that does not rob them, a country that doesn't protect thieves, a country that properly disposes the taxpayers' money, that protects and helps its citizens, a country that respects its every citizen and unites them. We will maintain a true balance in foreign policy based on national interests of Moldova, as well as pragmatic dialogue with all countries, including Romania, Ukraine, European countries, Russia, and the United States.
After conceding defeat, Moldova's President Igor Dodon claimed that his campaign had registered an unprecedented amount of violations, but will not call on his supporters to take to the streets.
There was an unprecedented amount of violations that have never occurred throughout election campaigns since independence. I'm not calling for people to take to the streets. We don't need destabilization. The situation is already not easy.
With all the ballots counted, Sandu, who has promised to bring the country closer to the West, won 57.75% of the vote against 42.25% for Dodon. EU member Romania and pro-Western Ukraine congratulate Sandu on her victory. Romanian President Klaus Iohannis said Moldovans had chosen a path of progress. Moldova has close historical ties with neighboring Romania and share a common language. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh warned Monday of unprecedented dangerous developments in the Israeli colonial project as Trump prepares to leave the White House.
The cabinet warns of unprecedented dangerous developments in the Israeli colonial project in what appears to be an escalating and intense attack plan for the next 10 weeks in a competition against time to impose a new fait accompli before Trump leaves the White House. We consider the visit of the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to the settlement of Sagot, which is built on the lands of the city of Al-Bireh and confiscated from its Palestinian owners, as a further violation of the rights of the Palestinian people, and we make sure that it will not give any legitimacy to the Zionist colonies. We are looking cautiously at the media reports about the visit of some settlers to some Arab countries in search of markets and investment, and we ask the Arab League to follow this matter and do what must be done.
Syria's Foreign Affairs Minister and one of the most prominent faces of the Arab country, Walid al-Mualem, died in Damascus at the age of 79 due to heart problems. Mualem served as Foreign Minister since 2006, and in 2012 he was appointed Deputy Prime Minister. Mualem's career as a diplomat started in 1963 after graduating as in the Cairo Aung San Suu Kyi obtained an absolute majority.
We are protesting against the Union Election Commission because we think the election was not fair and there was a problem with fraudulent voting. We are angry about the fraud in this election and we want a free and fair election. So we USDP supporters are protesting against the UEC.
And we have come to the end of this news brief, but remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also, join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.